Hello my friends, welcome to another video. If you are new here, my name is Chris, and in last week's video we went through my entire plushie inventory to get ready for my upcoming market. To be more specific, I was trying to figure out whether or not I had things priced appropriately, and by the way, thank you so much for your feedback on that video. I got a lot of great comments, and I am making some adjustments to pricing of certain things, but unfortunately I still found that I had a huge gap in the $25 to $40 price bucket range. So in today's video, what we are going to do is we are going to take a look at everything that I had on my list that I wanted to make for this market, determine whether or not it fits in that $25 to $40 price range, and then try to see if I can plot those out in each of the weeks coming up to the market to kind of have a goal for myself each week. And then what I'll do each week is when I show you my makes for the week, I'll remind you of what my goal was for the week, and we'll see whether or not I was able to achieve it. I'm going to be looking at my computer because I have a list in front of me. I just listed all of the patterns that I wanted to make, how many I wanted to make, and who the designer is. I have sorted it by designer just to make things easier, and we're going to run through this, and I will pop up a picture of the patterns so you know what I'm talking about, and we'll see how these things fall into the final plan for the market makes. All right, I'm going to scoot over a bit so that we can put our pattern picture up here nice and large for you to see. The first one on my list was Bigfoot by Abby Snyder. I have not made this pattern before, but I've seen Robin from Knotting Hook make it, and it looks really, really adorable. I don't think this is going to fit in the price range necessarily because it looks like it's going to be quite a bit of work if I make it with fuzzy yarn, but it's definitely on the list of things that I would like to make for the market. Next up is the Baby Dragon pattern by Amateur Hour. I see Christine from What's Up Cupcake make these all the time. I would really love to have some bite-sized dragons at the market, but unfortunately I don't think those are going to fit into that price bucket range. Then I have Dragon Babies by Blue Paw Print Crochet, and again this is the same kind of concept. I wanted to have some smaller dragons available, but I have tons of stuff that are in that price range, so I don't know that this is going to make it either. Next up is the Frogdrick pattern. This is by Chanel's Crochet. I have made this every single market. It sells every single market. People love this pattern. I put weighted pellets in him. He is just the most adorable, chonky little frog. I say little, but he's actually a nice size. So he definitely will fit in the price range, and I was hoping that I could make at least two for this market. Next up is a chonky Bigfoot. Now this is on a swinging pattern by Christina's Crochet. I was not going to make it with the swing, but I thought it would be a nice addition to go with the little chonky Mothman that I have. So I was hoping to make a couple of them for this market. Next up is Baron the Bat by Creature Made. If you've been watching the last few videos that I've made, you know I am in a Creature Made pattern kick here. So Baron the Bat looked like a really cool bat, and I do think he would fit in the price bucket, and I was thinking I would make at least one. Next up is Essex the Plague Doctor by Creature Made. I've talked about this one kind of extensively and how badly I wanted to make this thing. He's definitely not in the price bucket range, and spoiler alert, he's coming off the list because that's what I made this week, so I'll show you him at the end of the video. And last but not least for Creature Made patterns is Lure the Love Monster. I've had this pattern and wanted to make it for a while. I don't know that it's necessarily something that is going to sell, but it's just something that calls to me to make. And actually Creature Made's coming out with a new one that's kind of a counterpart to this one. So maybe I'll just wait till that pattern comes out and make them both together. He's definitely not going to fall into the $25 to $40 price bucket range. Next up is another Plague Doctor, but this one is by Dee Dee's Plushies. I did make one of these last year. I remember it not being the most fun make, but I do remember it getting a lot of attention. And I think that I have been enjoying some of these more complex makes this time, whereas last time I was in a very like market make hustle mindset. So I wanted to give this one another go and make at least one for the market. Next up is the Baphomet by Dorgal Dumb. I have not heard of this pattern designer before. I purchased this pattern but have not made it yet. I really struggled with finding a Baphomet that I liked, and this was the closest thing that I could find to what I had envisioned. And I've mentioned before, I have that really deep kind of crimson-y red color of Parfait Plush and black that I think would make an incredible Baphomet. So he's definitely on the list. I'm guessing that he may end up falling a little bit out of that range, unless he kind of comes together a little bit more easily than I'm thinking in my head. Next up is what I'm calling the Chonky Mothman. I actually use the Sitting Bee pattern by Fami's Crochet for this, and I just do some color changes so that it looks more like a Mothman. I have one. I wanted to have 2 or 3 available at the market, but unfortunately this isn't something that is going to fall into the $25 to $40 price range, so it may end up on the chopping block. Next up is the Moth Baby pattern by Fox and Faye Crochet. I have had this thing for a while along with the next one, which is the Cute Thulu by Fox and Faye. I have not made either of these yet, but they have been in my pattern library for quite some time and I'm really itching to make them. I do love Fox and Faye patterns. I've made several of their patterns, so I think it's going to be an enjoyable make, and I think it's going to fit pretty well in the $25 to $40 price range. So I'd like to make one of each at least. Next up is the Baby Grim Reaper pattern by Handmade by Nickel. I have been watching Lori at Stitch and Moan make these, and I really like them and want to make them. I just haven't had the chance. I've had the pattern when Nickel was doing her sale, but I just haven't had that chance yet. And I had 3 on my list, but I do not think they'll fall in the $25 to $40 price range. So again, these littler makes might end up on the chopping block. Next up is the Shadow Man pattern by Hannah Gurumi. I made 2 of these last year for this same market. I actually placed one as my donation, so they do a raffle and I set that out there and everybody was oohing and awing over him. And the other one that I had sold immediately, someone saw the actual raffle one at the table and came over to my booth looking for him, but the other one was already sold. So he's definitely something I want to make. He's a little bit more on the licensed character side since he looks like Oogie Boogie, but I don't think he's exact enough that I'm concerned with it. So I want to make 2 of those hopefully for this market, and he does fit nicely in the $25 to $40 range. Next up is the Floppy Bat by Holly Makes Things. This one I have been texting back and forth with Krista at the Hooked Dragon because she found it and she showed it to me and we were both like, this is the most adorable thing. She has made one. It came out great. The issue with this one is I really want to make it, but I really want to make it in Feels Like Bliss, and I'm honestly quite terrified to even try. I played with Feels Like Bliss once before and it didn't go well, so we'll have to see if I can squeeze this one in. Next up is Yogi the Yeti by Hooks and Healers. This is another pattern that I've had forever but haven't made yet. I wanted to make him both as a Yeti and as a Bigfoot. Specifically for this market, I wanted to have the Bigfoot one ready. And for my more winter themed market, I wanted to have the Yeti version made. And I do think these will fall into the $25 to $40 range. So I'm hoping to make at least one. Next up are Voodoo Dolls by Knotting Hook Crochet. I love these voodoo dolls. I talked about them before. I wanted to make at least 3 for this market. They do not fit in the $25 to $40 price range, but if I'm going to pick out of all the small stuff and, you know, price range be darned, these are the ones that I'm going to make. So I think these are going to come with us on the list regardless. Next up is Tiddalik by Mo2 Designs. I only have one of these guys and I really wanted to go back and make a couple more, at least 2 more. And I wanted to make like the mushroom hat one and things like that. So we'll have to see whether or not those can fit in. Next up is a favorite of mine. That is the Sitting Kitty by Mom Stitch Eddie. I love this cat pattern. It is one of my favorites. And whenever I make a black cat, it sells. So I had on my list that I wanted to make at least 2 of those. And they definitely fall within the $25 to $40 price range. Next up is the Sleeping Dragon by Nooks Hooks. I made one of those. I really wanted to have 2 or 3 at the market. They definitely fit in the price range. So hopefully I'll get around to making a couple more. Another one by Nooks Hooks is the Nessie pattern. This is another one of those that I haven't made, but it's been sitting in my pattern library for quite some time. And since cryptids are very popular right now, and I do have several others on my list, I thought it made sense to include this one as well. In an ideal world, I'd be able to make 2, but I would be happy if I could at least squeeze out 1. Next up is Dory the Deer by Snugglebeans Crochet. I have made a few of these in the past. They always sell really well. It's not necessarily leaning towards the theme of the spookiness of the market, but in my little kind of enchanted forest section of my table, they fit in really well, and they do get a lot of people over to look at them. And then following that, I kind of had a mashup of Snugglebean's crochet to make a standing deer. I've seen her make a standing deer, but I cannot find a standing deer pattern from her. It could be something where it's her Patreon or something like that. But what I was going to do is put Dory's head on the standing horse or unicorn pattern that I have, because I think the sizing would work fine. So I had on my list to give that a try and see how it went. Both of those, Dory the deer and the standing deer, should fit within the $25 to $40 range. The standing might lean a little bit higher than that, but I would be okay with it. And another one from Snugglebeans would be Cookie the cat. This is another one that sells really well, fits in great with the theme. I was again going to make a black cat in this, at least one of those, and then one in maybe kind of a tuxedo or mixed color. And that definitely fits in the price range of the $25 to $40 makes. Next up is Delilah the Dragon. This is a pattern by Stitched by Scott. I bought this the moment it came out because I was like, a no-sew dragon. I need to experience this and see what this is like, but I have yet to make it. I do think it'll fit within the range. It might end up a little bit on the higher end depending on, you know, how big it is and everything like that. But I wanted to get at least one of them made for this market. Next up is the Swirly Snake by Zazulia. I have made these in the past. I actually have one on hand, but I wanted to make two more to kind of fill things out and have a few available for this market. They definitely don't fit in the $25 to $40 price range, unfortunately. And the next one doesn't either, and that's the Little Spider by Betabee. These guys are really popular also. I wanted to have 3 of them for the market, but like I said, they don't fit in that price range, unfortunately. And the last thing that I had on my list, which I didn't go into specifics on, is my minis bin. So in this bin, I have several different things. And I wanted to make at least 5 of each of the ones that I don't have anything in stock of. But again, those fall into a range that I have way more than I need. So I am not sure whether or not I'm going to be making those. And that is everything that I had on my list of items that were kind of my goals for this market. I definitely know I'm going to fall short of that entire list, especially if I'm trying to narrow things into that $25 to $40 price range. So what I've done is taken the items that do fall into the price range and a few that I'm going to kind of hope to plot out and put them here so we can kind of come up with what I'm going to make each week up until the market. So I'm going to share my screen with you and let's take a look at what we got. All right, so I am in Canva here and we are going to take a look. I have plotted a box for each of the weeks up until the market. This box here represents the week of the market, so it's not a full week of makes. The market is Saturday and Sunday, so this is just going to kind of be the last minute stuff that I can get done. I also indicated drop Friday for this week because during that week, and I'm considering a week like from Sunday to Saturday, so that Friday I am going to be doing a shop drop where I am releasing a bunch of spooky themed items, some limited edition hook keepers and switch markers and things like that. So I wanted to indicate that because that week is going to be a little hectic for shop prep and the following week is hopefully going to be a little hectic if I have lots of orders. So I want to just make sure I take that into account when I'm plotting out my goals for that week's makes. All right, so let's take a look at some non-negotiables. So for me, the Baphomet is a huge one. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people at a spooky themed market. And I think that it's something that because I've wanted to make it for so long, I really kind of need to give myself that satisfaction. So I'm going to plot that in as this upcoming week's makes. I think also Frogdrick is something that is kind of a non-negotiable. He is somebody who I think works really well for the markets. So I'm going to plot him here. Baphomet is going to take some time. So what I might want to do is just, and by the way, you'll see I added here some items that were not going to necessarily fit in the price bucket, but I'm going to keep them here anyway, like voodoo dolls, for example. I put other small items, so it's just if I end up with time left, I can do those, and then the minis. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe plot those two things on the week of the market. So unless something really important carries over, those two items will be done the week of the market. And I can even bring some yarn to the market and do a little bit of crocheting there too. And that more than likely would be the minis if I feel like I have time to make something. All right. So we've got several things here, and as I look at this, I'm really struggling with trying to figure out what I want to do when. Wow. Okay, so I think the Moth Baby and the Cute Thulu, both by Fox and Faye, I definitely think if I'm gonna do some cryptids, then I think I kind of maybe want to do some of those together. So I think one of the weeks we're gonna do a Cute Thulu, at least one, a Moth Baby. Is it too ambitious to say a Nessie also? Let's make that cryptid week and see how that goes. Okay, so for Frogdrick, the week that I have Frogdrick, I think I can do a little more than just a Frogdrick or even two. So I think I'm going to put with that one the Sitting Kitty, because I definitely want to make sure I have some of the Sitting Kitty. I think that's an important one to have. Shadow Man is certainly important, so I'm going to plot him here. And I'm kind of plotting the most important make at the top of the week, and that way it's kind of a reminder of like, this is the focus. I want to at least get this done. And then if something has to fall behind, it can scoot into the next week if need be, or I'll have to figure that out. So the drop week, I want to do something a little bit less complex. I think I'm going to do the Sleeping Dragons that week because I feel like those are pretty simple to execute. Hopefully. Let's see. I am going to put Dory the deer. I'm debating on the Dory because I love the deer and I think that they work really well, but I'm just in spooky mood or more like witchy Halloweeny mood for this market. Even though I have a ton of bats and gargoyles, I think I'm going to plot Baron the Bat here. And maybe Baron's probably going to be a hefty effort just thinking about it. Oh, I have the floppy bat here, which is the Feels Like Bliss one. I'm a little nervous about that one. Okay, so for Baron the Bat, maybe what we'll do is we'll do some voodoo dolls that week. I'm doing voodoo dolls regardless. So that's plenty, I think, for that week. And then the week of the drop, having the Sleeping Dragons with the work I know I'm going to need to do the drop, I think that's fine. If I'm able to make more than one Sleeping Dragon, then that'll just be accumulating in the count. And we'll go from there. So let's see. Delilah the Dragon. So Cookie the Cat, I think, is an important one. I'm going to bring that into this week here because I definitely know those will sell, and it's another alternative to the cats that I will have. Let's put Dory the Deer with Cookie the Cat. 2 Snuggle Beans makes in 1 week. I don't know. If I have to sacrifice that week, then I have to sacrifice. I think that the week of the Baphomet, can I also get something else done? I don't know. I'm going to put Delilah with the Sleeping Dragon. I don't know that I'll get there, but it's good to have goals that challenge and push us, right? Okay. So Baphomet week. Oh my God, am I going to do the floppy bat? I'm a little, this feels like a lot. Okay, let's try for it. Let's do it. Yogi the Yeti. I think we're going to have to put him here with the other cryptids. And either that week is going to work out really well and I'm going to be so proud of having all of these makes, or it's going to be a massive fail and something's going to scoot to the next. Okay, Shadow Man is pretty complex with all the embroidery. Frogdrick and Sitting Kitty are very reasonable. Baphomet, I don't know. That looks like a challenging pattern. But I can put, oh man, this is hard. Do I give up any of these and not plot them, or do I plot them and go for it? And then I either succeed or I don't. Let's do it. We're plotting them. Okay. So let's, okay, we're going to put Cookie with Shadow Man because I feel like it's less complex. And then I'll put the Standing Deer with the Dory Deer because I will either have a head. Okay, Dory's going to come first because I don't even know if the Standing Deer is going to work out. If I make the head and I start making the body and it is way off. Oh, man. Okay. All right, we're gonna put the Plague Doctor with the Baphomet. I don't know how well that's gonna go, but we're gonna plot it that way. And see how it goes. Floppy Bat. Can you tell which one I was dreading the most? Because I kind of wish I didn't put him on the list, but I want to make him. He is really cute. Okay, I'm gonna put him on the week of the market because do I put him Baron the Bat? The voodoo dolls are quick. Baron the Bat, I don't know how long that's going to take. He seems, knowing Creature Made, it's going to take some time. The Floppy Bat looks like it's going to take some. Okay, I'm going to scoot him up here. He's going to be the stretch item. I'm going to make him, okay. Floppy Bat is in blue. He's the stretch item. He gets sacrificed if it's not going well. All right, so this is where we stand. So in next week's video, I should be hopefully showing you a Baphomet and a Plague Doctor. And then the following week, we've got Frogdrick and Sitting Kitties, then Shadow Man and Cookie the Cat. Then a pretty hefty week with Cute Thulu, Moth Baby, Nessie, and Yogi the Yeti, which is going to be the Bigfoot version. Then Baron the Bat, Voodoo Dolls, and maybe a Floppy Bat. And then Shop Drop week, I'm going to have a Sleeping Dragon and hopefully a Delilah Dragon. Then the week after, which is also going to be a tight week, I'm going to have maybe a Dory Deer and a Standing Deer. And then the week of the market, I will work on some minis and other small makes. And when I say other small makes, it's probably going to be like the Chonky Bigfoot, maybe another one or two of the little Chonky Mothman, you know, just some of the stuff that I don't necessarily need from a price bucket standpoint, but that really call to me to make. So, and then I think it's a little easier because I can also bring some supplies, like I said, to make some of those at the market. So we will see where we land with all of that. I will update you each week on how things went and any pivots that I'm making to the following week's makes based on, you know, how I did the week before. So as far as this week's makes go, as I mentioned, I finally got around to making Essex the Plague Doctor by Creature Made. I am so happy with this make. Here is my Essex. I took footage like this because it's hard to kind of get him in frame for you to see his entirety and how awesome he is. I have not cleaned him up from all of his fuzzies yet. That's something I still do need to do. But let me show you some more detail on him here. So this is my Essex, and like I said, he's tricky to show here. This pattern is definitely a labor of love. I do love how he turned out. I have to avoid trying to pick all of the fluff. He does need to be cleaned up. Like I said, he has not been cleaned up yet. I love him so much. He was so much fun to make, but I do think that I have been looking at Creature Made patterns through rose-colored glasses. I am envisioning the final makes on these, and I don't always do that. When I'm crocheting, I'm like just following a lot of times. I'm not envisioning the final make and like just, you know, imagining what it's going to be like. But I do that with Creature Made patterns for some reason. And I think that lends to me not calling out some of the things that I should be calling out in the pattern to like let you guys know of what it's like to make these things. So I want to make sure I do that for this guy. And even all of the others. So one of the things I would say is if you're someone who does not like having things left up to you, these can be a little bit challenging. And in this particular one, I feel like it kind of bit me a little bit, and I would definitely do things a little differently next time. I won't make another one of these until he sells, but it was an awesome time. So what I'm talking about here is you know, there's kind of like, oh, if you want to put the disc in to help steady the feet, you can do that. It's recommended. Definitely do that if you're going to do that, because these things can stand on their own really well. The thing that really kind of frustrated me with this one was the placement of the weighted pellets. So in Clubs the Clown, they recommend weighted pellets as well. But in Clubs the Clown, you have kind of this inner structure of the leg and then his poofy outer outfit around that. So you can jam the living crap out of poly pellets in the base of his legs, and it doesn't matter how they feel because there's an outer, you know, around it. There's like this outer shell of his outfit. So you're not as concerned with, you know, it getting poked or it, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just, it's a little more secure, I think, because you're not going to feel it through the plushie as much because you have his whole billowing outfit around it. In this guy, your, you know, your legs are only so wide, so you are going to feel wherever you put the pellets. And that's okay, but the way it was described in the pattern was just put them in the legs. And it gave a range of an amount to use. I used on the heavier side because I figured he's going to be pretty heavy up top with all of this stuff, and I want him to be able to stand well. So I did, but I had a hard time figuring out where to put the pellets because in Clubs, you put them more in the foot up through the leg. So that's what I did here. And I kind of wish I would have put them in more of like his hip area. The other thing that frustrated me a little bit in this one, and it did in the other ones as well, is a lot of times the term stuff firmly but don't overstuff was used. And honestly, I don't know what that means. I really don't. I get it to a certain extent. I mean, I get it. Like you want to not keep it floppy, so stuff firmly, but do not overstuff in what way? Like to deform it, because my stitches are tight and I could stuff the crap out of it. And yes, it may swell a bit, but it's not going to like throw off the shape all that much because it's a tube, it's legs, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like I kept questioning myself on whether or not I was stuffing too firmly. And I'm annoyed that I didn't stuff more because I feel like where the weighted pellets end, which is kind of about here, and this little almost like joint, if he was a kicking showgirl, I stuffed really hard with the polyfill, but I still feel like it's not enough because I feel like there is a joint there, because there's a break between where the poly pellets end and it's just fluff and stuffing, because in these legs you can only put so much stuffing around the poly pellets. It's just the nature of it. So I worry that in 5 years or whatever, when the stuffing compresses, will he stand as well? You know what I mean? I made a slight tweak to kind of like assist him in standing because he was up to here. So basically what you do is you make the feet, you make the legs, you're going up, you make the body, arms are made separate and sewn on. This is surface crocheted on. This is added after sewn on. Head is separate, sewn on. So you have a good bit of his body as you're getting this thing structured. So I actually cocked out one of his feet. He needs positioning to be able to stand well. And that annoys me because Clubs stood really well. And I think it's because of the positioning of the poly pellets, because if I settle them, then he stands really well. I tilted that foot out because I felt like he stood better. So he's standing on his own at the moment. He's easily knocked over. He's not super sturdy, and I have to kind of tweak him and position him to get him to stand. And I think it would have been better had I positioned the poly pellets a little bit higher on him than lower. So next time I make it, I'm going to try that. I'm going to put the poly pellets kind of in his hip bone area and see how that works a little bit better, as long as this is stuffed thoroughly. Or I will go and make a super skinny tube, but I don't know. just thoughts. Definitely something I would consider doing a little bit differently the next time around, but I do love him. When you make his eyes, you make them with a hook size that is a full size smaller than what you were doing. And I sewed these on using cotton yarn in white, just to kind of hide that a little bit and keep that brim around that you want for his eyes. I have a 3D printed disc in his hat to kind of keep that structure there, which they do recommend in the pattern. But yeah, this guy took me all week. I think the most like arduous part was this whole back cape situation, because obviously look at how much of it is. You know, this is like a baby blanket. So, but I love him so much. This is all Knotty Pony, by the way. I didn't even say that. Knotty Pony, 5.5mm hook. I yarned over this time because I felt like clubs came out a little squatty, and I yarn under if I'm not thinking about it. And on clubs, I yarned under. So on this guy, I yarned over to try to keep everything lengthy. And I think that's what they intend in the pattern. I don't think it says it anywhere, but I think it worked out for the best for that. So yeah, that is my Essex, the Plague Doctor. I enjoyed making him so much. The only other thing I made this week is not much of anything at all. I cannot recall who put in the comments that adding a creepy balloon to Clubs the Clown might be a good idea. And I thought that was really, really cool. And I thought, what's more creepy than a deflated balloon? So I made a little deflated balloon. There's no like pattern or anything for this. This was made with Juicy Couture and just some black cotton yarn. I'm gonna string this either around his wrist or through his hand so that this kind of sits on the floor next to him. It gives Santa Sack a little bit, but I think when it's held by a creepy clown, it will give deflated balloon. Those are my two makes for the week. I also need to, right after this, go and take a look at the rest of my task list that needs to be done before the market and before the shop drop. And I think I might plot those into those little boxes that we had, so I have kind of a weekly checklist for myself. I've got things for the market, like I need to order business cards. I need to see if I have enough bags. Do I have enough tags? I gotta tag items, print barcodes, all the good things that need to be done. I also have several things to get ready for the shop drop. We're coming out with some new products and stuff that my members have been helping me design. If you're interested in that, by the way, check out my membership. The Skeiniac level gets you the full-blown behind the scenes. But yeah, that is all I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. It is absolutely free, and we would love to have you as part of this community. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.